So what are we going to do about it? That's the question, isn't it? What I want to talk about today is exactly that. What are we going to do about it? I'm going to assume that absolutely everybody in the room is convinced that something needs to be done. And while we always need more research, and we will always get more research, thank goodness, we still need to take some public health action really fast, and as fast as we possibly can. And we have been running a project now, actually parts of a project since 2007. And in order to run what we have done, for example, what we have chosen to do as Grassroots Health, is really to get this word out to the public and to do it now while the public health officials start to work. And as you recall, looking at one of, I think it was Reinhold's slides, he indicated here's this individual action that happens fast and easiest. That's been our target market, all right? In order to make something fast, we have gone after that target market using a couple of technologies that are in one sense quite new. We have a very powerful information technology structure that supports what we are doing, as well as the use of the internet, all right? Let's go, folks, we're ready to go. I have here a great deal of thanks to Dr. Cedric Garland, whom is not here, but at UCSD for his consultation with us over the last few years, as well as all of those lovely people you have met today, because they are also on our panel advising us as to what we need to say and do. Our project really is a population public health intervention. That's a step, in one sense, past a clinical trial. You've done a lot of clinical trials, you've done a lot of epidemiological studies, and now you need to take it out to the public. But at the same time, you need to gather the data about what's going on with a much larger intervention. Our intervention, quite honestly, is education, which is here's what your vitamin D level needs to be, and it's between 100 to 150 nanomoles per liter. That's what our panel has said, and that's what we preach, as it were. And secondly, education. Education in the sense of informing people about what the consequences of the deficiency are, what to do about it, and how to go it. With what we call sponsors, how have we done this? We don't have the $10 million grant from NIH or anybody else either, and we wanted to go. So how do you go when you want to go? You say, okay, folks, here it is, you pay for it. And guess what? It works. Right? At least with a subset of the population that allows you to get going. We currently have 8,000 people enrolled in this study and in this project that pay to sponsor themselves in terms of their testing, in terms of the data gathering and the infrastructure that we have. And it is an international project. While our sponsors are predominantly in the US and Canada, we really have people from all over the world participating in this project. We now have associations and organizations. Once you start getting the general public involved, then you can quickly go to some of these other places, just like you do in politics, folks. Okay, the politicians don't sit up in that castle thinking of great things for us to do they? I don't think they do, right? They wait for us, the public, to say, here is what we need. And that is exactly what's happening right now. We have associations and organizations now supporting this call to action, and by supporting, what that means that they are doing is they are educating their members, and they are making sure their participants, like their patients, for example, or their association members, know what the vitamin D levels are and how to get about testing and going on with it. Same thing with clinics and medical groups. We have clinics far more than I can list here. I just wanted to list a little bit of a range, who are now saying, Carole, I want to participate in this project with my patients. And that participation is open to clinics and groups all over the world. Same thing with pharmacies. And this depends very much on the environment that the pharmacies work in. These are all what we call private pharmacies. They're not the Targets or the Shoppers Mart or those kind of pharmacies. Varies a great deal by where you are located. But they support their clientele with this. Community research projects. We now have a number, because again of our infrastructure that we have built, we now have a number of major research projects in and of themselves that are participating with the methodology that we are using. The most recent excite ones for us are some minority groups in Georgia, which are dealing with the African American population and the disadvantaged group of that subset, the low socioeconomic people, and we'll be doing some work with them and some community sponsorships. And we are actually participating with one of the University of California systems in putting together an NIH grant to serve also the disadvantaged populations. What I'm here to report on today mostly is what have we done so far and what can I show you specifically about the pregnancy and the lactation issue. This is the age distribution of our population that we currently have enrolled in the study, just so you can kind of quickly see we're talking mostly about older people. And again, we have a voluntary enrollment kind of population, so it's not at all surprising that we have an older group of people. About 60% of the population is 50 and older. And you can see the female balance there also is characteristic of health-related kind of subscriptions. We've got 2,500 plus women enrolled compared to 1,600 men. And there are a few children. And there's one big question mark there, and we don't know how old they are. This is published from our study in February of this year. Doctors Garland and Haney, Baggerly and French et al. Published this first very big paper out of our study, which we're very excited about. And in one sense, I looked at this morning. I mean, I've looked at it before, and you look at all the other data you saw this morning, it looks just the same, the scattering of the data, all right? And this really is just to indicate the dose response kind of curve on about 3,600 people. That solid black horizontal line there is at the 40 nanograms per ml or 100 nanomoles per liter range. And to show that first line there that goes across and its slope is upwards, and then as you go farther out, it flattens out, just like Dr. Hollis mentioned this morning. It really does reach kind of a plateau. And that was very clear that just because you're taking more vitamin D, you're not getting the same big bang for the buck as you were when you were at a lower level. So you have to pay attention to that in prescribing or recommending any kind of dose. Specifically with pregnancy, I'm going to report on some of the women that we have in the first test. We had 39 pregnant women, and 13 of those people delivered after the first test. Within those 13, there were 0 complications of any kind whatsoever reported, which is always good news. There were 17 pregnant women between test 1 and test 2, their ages 28 to 40, and I will be presenting you some more detail on those. And we have 4 pregnant at the third test who are still pregnant to the best of my knowledge, and I don't have anything to report yet. But I want to tell you a little bit more detail about these people. This particular one here, case number 1, she's Asian. We have a wide group of ethnicities in the study, 28, 58 kilograms, 152 centimeters. Her starting intake before she was pregnant, this is her first test before notice of pregnancy, she was not taking any supplement. However, her serum level was 30 nanograms per ml. And in our study, our baseline 0 intake level is right at 30. So a lot of people are outside. Who knows what they're doing, but this is not uncommon in our study. But that was a starting, and guess what? She got pregnant, and zoom, I'm going to take 5,000 IU a day, and she did, all right? And so she has had her serum level up to 172 nanomoles per liter. Case number 2, Caucasian woman, 29 years old, 62 kilograms, starting intake all of 200 IU a day, and her serum level was 78 nanomoles per liter, and she got pregnant, and guess what she did? She's taking 4,000 IU a day. Do you think they're listening? Well, I do. Oops, what happened to this one? She got pregnant, and she was taking 6,000 IU a day. Her serum level was 200 nanomoles per liter, and she decided that maybe that was too much. So by the time she was taking her second test, she was taking nothing, and this was after a period of 6 months and still pregnant, and her serum level was now 115 nanomoles per liter. I truly hope that she kind of leveled off and paid attention to her test there and didn't go down much farther. But people are paying attention, all right? The key message there is that they are indeed paying attention. The before intake, before and after, just to kind of show you what the average rise is. That black line shows intake, again, the dose response curve. And then after pregnancy, you can see that jump there, that the people indeed, the women did indeed decide it's time to take some more vitamin D. The increase in the pregnant women's medians from 93 nanomoles per liter to 128 certainly is significant, as well as their intake levels, and there are 17 people in that category. For children, I do not have analyzed the data about the children that we have in the study right now. We have 22 children under the age of 12 in the study. Most of them are coming through a pediatric clinic that we have enrolled in the study. And the data are, in one sense, kind of confusing, but I wanted to show you some of it anyway. There is very little milk intake on any of the children, no matter what age, no matter whatever. How many glasses of milk a day are they drinking, or how many ounces? The most we saw was one single child who's getting 5 glasses or 5 servings of milk a day, but most of the rest are getting 1 or 2, and these are children between the age of 0 and 12, and I was really surprised to see that. But just a couple of kind of funky examples here, and we gave you the IUs per kilogram. Both 0, they're both taking very little milk, and their serum levels are 35 and 18. And these are nanograms per milliliter, my apologies, but that's the way the chart is. The 20s are in yellow down there, 20 IU per kilogram. They're both taking 400, and their serum levels are 28 and 54. In one sense, the children's serum levels are just like the adults. They span greatly for a given intake, for a given weight, and the body's response, even during childhood, is very similar in one sense to that same kind of spread we get as adults. With the children, the median intake went from about 500 IU a day on the first test that the children had to about 1,700 IU a day. The actual vitamin D levels of the children did not rise that much, however, but the good news is almost all of them are above the 100 nanomoles per liter, which is what we are aiming for. So what's happening? The pregnant women are listening. I just gave you 3 examples. We have 58 total pregnant women, and in each and every case, there's something different happening with the announcement of that pregnancy. And I'm very pleased to say that they're all adjusting something there. Getting that median serum level to 128 and the intake range from 1,000 to 4,000 is very special thanks to Bruce and Carole and the interviews we have from them on our website that people get to look at. The fact that parents are listening, children whose behavior is being changed, certainly they are being tested, but the test in and of itself is very significant. These parents are taking their children to this particular pediatric clinic for their regular checkups. They are getting vitamin D tested, and as a result of the test, they are taking action. And in all cases, we have no record of any kind of complications whatsoever, whether with pregnancy or any of the other people in our study. The next, so far as we are concerned, the readiness and success of the women, we are going to move much faster into the pregnancy clinics and actively start soliciting some of the OBGYN practitioners to participate in the project and move faster and go forward. Same thing with the pediatricians and those that care about that. There is obviously more education needed of the pediatricians and the obstetricians. And there's always a desire to run into various hurdles, like you run into somebody that's unwilling to listen or not eager, and what do you do about those, so forth and so on. I'm very practical. I only have a limited amount of time and resources. We currently have a backlog of clinics, pediatricians, and OBGYN people that want to know more today, all right? So until I bring them on board and can help them get going with what they want, the people that are resistant are just going to have to wait just a little bit longer, all right? All right, and certainly more sponsors in all of those areas. So I want to congratulate each and every one of you for your interest and participation, and certainly to our scientists that support this, and special thanks to all of these people and to you. Thank you.
Carole. Any questions or comments?
Just to know, how long did the trials take before the levels went up?
We have initiated this program to encourage people to test once each 6 months for a period of 5 years. So in terms of from the time the levels went up, from the time of the first test that they ever took to the second one, and we're constantly enrolling people, so it's an ongoing process.
This is an interesting idea of self-sponsorship. Can you share with us how much it would have it cost people?
Of course, it costs $65 US.
For the whole schmoozle?
I'm sorry?
For the whole thing?
Each time.
Each time.
Right, each time they test. And in one sense, that's about half the cost of this $10 million trial over the 5 years, just in case you want to figure out the numbers there, but we're doing it with thousands of people and not 500. There was a significant investment in the infrastructure to make it work, to have it ready there. But the $65 was arrived at because it covers the costs that we pay to the lab for the test and covers the basic operating expenses of running the trial and is still a below market cost for almost anybody that's ordering a vitamin D test that isn't covered by insurance.
There is a company that will take your order in pounds, deliver the kit to you in the UK, and then you post it back to the States.
Right.
And then 6 months later you do the second test.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And the test is a blood spot test. It's one that you can do at home. You don't have to have a doctor. You don't have to have a blood draw. It's something you prick your finger, drop some blood on a card, mail it back to us, and we have it processed. And then your results, and the patient's results, are posted to their account on a website, which they log into to find out what it is.
Is that the same format for the the children?
Yes, exactly.
Every 6 months?
Every 6 months. The questions on the questionnaire are rather extensive, and there are quite a number of them that are not at all applicable to children, and those can be skimmed over, like are you pregnant or lactating, and those kind of questions just aren't necessary. On the other hand, there is a very interesting question on the questionnaire. It's about how many times have you fallen on average in the last 6 months? I had a call from one of the pediatricians says, Carole, how do you want me to answer this?
Are you supplying vitamin D so that if there's uniformity in the form of vitamin D that...
Am I supplying the vitamin D? No, we are not, and that certainly in a kind of a statistical form could be considered a weakness of the study, but no, this is a totally self-supplied thing. However, 3 of the studies that we are now participating in, done in communities or clinics or something, they do have very specific forms that they are offering of vitamin D. So we have kind of a combination of projects that we are running.
There are 2 suppliers of vitamin D products who are here with some information at the tables in the lunchroom. One in drop form and one in capsule form, and both of them in drop form.
Does your test give D2 as well as D3 values?
Yes, it does give D2 as well as D3 values.
I see it's very important in this country where we have, say, to rely on the diet quite a bit.
Okay.
And that's one thing. And what about doing tests at the same time, say, calcium, if one's interested in osteomalacia and osteopenia and so on? And also, there are other elements. I mean, vitamin K is important in these tests. They're all involved with these.
There are many things that are important in our lifestyles to this. We're only dealing with vitamin D. Certainly vitamin K is important. Too much vitamin A is important, whether or not you exercise, whether or not you sun expose. We track a lot of that information, by the way, in terms of people reporting on a questionnaire what they're doing. But no, we do not measure them. That's beyond what we are doing.
Would it be too expensive to use parathyroid hormone levels?
Adding any test at this point in time is just an added expense. It's pure and simple a financial thing that can be dealt with if one wants to charge more, do more with it for sure, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Onwards.
Thank you.